For his first appearance on the Super Nintendo, Kirby decided to go bowling and play golf at the same time, using himself as the ball. It's an odd concept, and you wouldn't expect much from it. Well, it's surprisingly in-depth for 1994, with a variety of strategies and plenty of content. Kirby's Dream Course is an isometric game on floating checkerboard platforms. The backgrounds are pretty, and I can see how these courses are a dream. The name Kirby's Dream Course is clearly a reference to Kirby's first game, Kirby's Dream Land, and wouldn't you know it, the Dream Course is located in Dreamland. However, the Japanese name simplifies things, translating to Kirby Ball or Kirby Bowl. It can be played with one player aiming for the lowest score, or two players competing for the highest score. Both modes function similarly with different goals. I'll be honest, this spin-off game probably wouldn't have made my review bucket list if it weren't for the Game Grumps and their chaotic two-player series. After watching them, I had to try it. But who would my second player be? My non-gamer fiancé, of course. It's just a goofy golf game, so it seemed like no gamer experience was required. We started by going through the one-player courses together and learning the controls at the same time to try and make the later competition as fair as possible. Well, this being a game from 1994, there were some extra quirks that I was able to adapt to much quicker. It's fun to have a fresh perspective join me on this series, but it's clear that I was the player who enjoyed this game the most. Here's the general rundown of how the game works. Whether you have one or two players, you select a course to play, and each course features 8 holes. Legally distinct mini-golf, I suppose. Each hole has its own layout with a few Kirby enemies placed on it, except there's no clear end when you start because the hole doesn't appear until you roll into all but one of the enemies. The last enemy then becomes the hole. So it's like bowling at first when you knock over the enemies, and then it becomes golf. Let's look at the overall goal for a single player first. The combination of bowling and golf wasn't enough, and they had to gamify it more. The course selection takes the form of a world map, and I like the personality it adds. When you complete one course, the clouds disperse above the next course, and Kirby can hop over to try it. The one-player campaign features 8 courses and a final boss. Sure, why not add a final boss to a golf game? Now here's another trope that 1994 hadn't quite left behind yet. Almost every game featured lives. In Kirby's platforming games, that makes total sense, but it's a questionable addition to Kirby's Dream Course. You'll lose a life instantly if you guide Kirby to fall off the course, and Kirby can also get worn out if you're not careful. He essentially has a health meter made up of 4 tomatoes, and every time you shoot, he loses a tomato. You can gain tomatoes back by rolling into enemies, so the health meter is like a penalty for missing the enemies with your shot. You will also gain an extra life if you get a hole-in-one. So, typically when you start a course, you have 3 lives to complete 8 holes, and if you run out of lives, you'll have to restart the course. Fortunately, you keep your progress on the world map, and you don't have to restart the entire campaign. Alright, how do you actually play this game? We know the objectives, but not how to achieve them. Kirby acts as the ball, and you have a few options to guide him around. Let's start with the basics. There's a straight shot, a curve shot, and a jump shot. Use any combination of these to get Kirby to roll over enemies and into the hole. You can't change his direction once you've made your shot unless you have a power-up, and I'll cover those very soon. Now, one surprise I had was how to aim the cursor, as it's not as simple as pressing a direction and facing that direction. You can only change Kirby's angle with left and right to rotate him clockwise or counterclockwise, which gets very confusing at times. You can also rotate 45 degrees at once with the L and R buttons while you're aiming, and then use the control pad for any angles in between. It's easy to overthink how to hit the ball. For example, on the very first hole, I thought a curve might get me a hole-in-one. I was close, but there's a much simpler way to achieve this if you just hit Kirby straight and use the walls to redirect him. Here's a crucial feature you'll want to use in this game. Hit down on the control pad to extend your guideline as you set up your shot. It shows an accurate rebound angle for walls. However, if you use full power, you will still roll further than this extended guide shows. That was one of the quirks we had to figure out when playing, so don't confuse the marker at the end of the line for the furthest point Kirby can reach. I really enjoy looking for strategies in this game. The holes are never set up so that you can take a straight shot, knock over all the enemies, and get an easy hole-in-one. You always have to think about it, and the difficulty gradually increases. Frankly, it gets weird. Very early in the first course, the game introduces obstacles like spikes and even warps, and on the 5th hole, the first power-up is introduced. After taking out a Starman, Kirby gains the jump ability. It's just like when he inhales enemies in Kirby's Adventure. The jump power-up is a good one to start with, as it's very simple, activated by just one button press. You can use power-ups by pressing B after taking a shot while Kirby is in play, and in the case of the jump, he jumps in the direction he's facing. Hole 5 is perfectly crafted with a ledge you can jump over by using this power-up. Of course, I failed to press the correct button and had to resort to using the jump shot instead of the power-up itself. Power-ups are crucial while Kirby is in motion, as they usually extend the shot, increasing your chance of getting a hole-in-one. So, after that rather embarrassing miss, here's footage of my first one-shot instead. Now, back to the copy abilities. Including the high jump, there are 10 different power-ups available from enemies. As the game progresses, almost every level will be riddled with obstacles best navigated with these special abilities. Some, like the wheel or burning abilities, make you shoot forward in a straight line with a burst of speed. The stone and needle abilities, on the other hand, make you stop on the spot. It's useful if you see yourself straying away from your target, or in the best cases, you can use it to drop directly into the hole. Some abilities even allow you to take control for a few seconds. The tornado propels you forward and allows you to change directions until it slows down, and the most powerful ability of all is the UFO, giving 10 seconds of control. The only catch was, I had no idea how that control worked. I eventually realized that, like aiming your shot to begin with, controllable power-ups only move with left and right on the D-pad. Up and down will do nothing. I suppose these controls are consistent, but I found the copy abilities much harder to use than necessary. It's difficult to think about the direction to press, even though there are only two options, because sometimes you'll press one direction and go the opposite way. It's more like clockwise and counterclockwise as opposed to a simple left and right. With 2 players, you'll use all of these skills to compete against each other, and there are plenty of opportunities to be chaotic or even mean to your friends. 4 courses are available from the beginning, named after iconic bosses from earlier in the Kirby series. In this mode, players are vying for the highest score rather than the lowest. Pink Kirby and Yellow Kirby duel it out on the same courses, which are designed to avoid the chance of a one-shot. Players take turns aiming their Kirby, and for every enemy a player rolls into, they earn a star. However, you can steal each other's stars in various ways. It's as simple as rolling into the star left behind in the enemy's place, with some other crazy methods available too. Star totals are tracked across all 8 holes of a course, and the winner is the player with the most stars collected overall. In multiplayer mode, you can also handicap players to even the playing field. You can drastically decrease the guide length while you're aiming, and even lower the maximum power of your shots. I tested the hardest settings, and still won. Gaming regularly is worth something. The handicaps are slightly flawed, however. There was one hole in particular where I couldn't clear spikes from the starting point because my power was limited. Sure, it's just part of the handicap, but I doubt the developers intended for this consequence. As usual for Kirby, his Dream Course is a game with a delightful atmosphere. It's fun in many ways, with some frustrating retro quirks in there too. One thing I wanted was more. And what do you know, you can in fact double the number of courses by earning silver or gold medals in the default single-player campaign. You earn medals based on your score, and gold medals are the toughest challenge in this game. You have to string together 8 consecutive low scores to earn a medal for a course, and most gold medals require you to hit multiple one-shots. If you get a silver or gold on all 8 courses, you will unlock the extra courses, and I was very excited for them. You even unlock extra courses for multiplayer mode. Unfortunately, they're just variations of the normal courses, perhaps with different enemies or a different starting point. It's a nod to Kirby's platformer games, where extra mode swaps out the regular enemies for more difficult challenges. In this case, I would have liked to see some all-new content. I imagine the cartridge memory limited the ability to make different courses, but I was still disappointed. I was excited to play more of this game, and instead, I didn't even finish the extra courses in the end. To wrap things up, let's take a look at the final boss. Well, the only boss, not counting his extra course counterpart. This is Robo Dedede, a construction piloted by King Dedede himself. The Mecha Menace slowly approaches on a small checkerboard platform, and Kirby can knock him further back. Robo Dedede sends out Chibi Dededes as an attack, which attempt to hit Kirby while he's idle. At first, I was very confused. It was unclear how much damage I was doing and how long the battle would last. So, on my second attempt, I changed my strategy to attack with jump shots, and the fight was over after 6 hits. That's ever so slightly pathetic. In extra mode, Robo Dedede moves a little faster and takes twice as many hits to defeat. I get why a boss was added to this game, but I think the final course was a worthier final boss than Robo Dedede. Yeah, this is a cute and quirky game. I'm not sure why this was the first game Kirby was given on the Super Nintendo, being a spin-off and fairly different to any other game I've played. I like the concept and I had fun playing. There's some great replay value here too, although I'm still disappointed by the extra content. At the end of the day, I don't think this game lived up to my expectations. In fact, I enjoyed it for reasons I didn't expect and was let down by other factors. It's a good game with some unfortunate signs of aging. Therefore, my final score for Kirby's Dream Course will be 7.4 out of 10. I'm not entirely sure who to recommend this game to. It's not necessarily a game that Kirby fans need to try, but I guess the single-player campaign could appeal to puzzle gamers? It's definitely a puzzle in many ways when you look for hole-in-one strategies, and then there's a lot of precision involved in going for gold medals. There's an odd mix of skills needed to play this game well, and some chaos involved when you play the competitive two-player mode. There are a few ways to play this game without an original cartridge, such as the Classic Edition console or Nintendo Switch Online. Release coverage outside of Japan was shockingly light. Kirby's Dream Course reached players outside of Japan at the beginning of 1995, and despite the popularity of previous titles, Electronic Gaming Monthly didn't cover this one. So, the only review from its time that I could dig up was from Nintendo Power. It was previewed in its release month, offering a few pointers for each course in the single-player campaign, and even one-shot strategies. As for its Power ranking score, it only received a total of 13.8 out of 20. That's the lowest Nintendo Power total for any game I've covered, and it doesn't deserve that. Tell me, did you agree with the points I've made? What rating would you give Kirby's Dream Course for the SNES, initially released in 1994? Remember to like the video to give me a gold medal, and subscribe for a random power-up. Ah, lucky you, it's my favorite power-up. My videos will now appear in your feed. As ever, thank you for watching, and please continue to be your own unique self.
But if you go full beans into that warp...
Full beans?
What?